Hello and good morning. Hey, sorry, I just saw the chat go as I did a thing. I also changed some settings during the countdown, which is always a great way to ensure that nothing goes wrong during a live stream. So we're gonna see. I changed my frame rate, and I don't know if it's doing a thing. It looks interesting, and I didn't mean to do that, but I caught a thing. So let's see how things are doing here. Let's go to my channel and see. Which is always a great way to ensure that nothing goes wrong. It looks a little stuttery, so I'm going to try something real quick. And there we go. Now, hopefully we should be smooth. Now it should be smooth sailing. Let's see. Sorry, I know technical troubleshooting is always the most fun, but I think this is good. I just had to change. I went back to 29.97 frames per second from 24, which I thought I was on 24. I did a bunch of testing. I was like, no, it's not 24. And then I switched it to 24 during the countdown, and then it... Okay, this is much cleaner. We'll just stick with this because it also matches my second camera over here, which we'll talk about. We can talk about all the gear in a second. But first, let's check in with everybody. Thanks for putting up with my technical stuff. Nerd Nest, why is this comment so tiny? That's because last time I did a stream on this computer, it was on Instagram, and yeah. And I was trying to make stuff fit in the middle, which didn't work out all that well. So for here, your stream just disappeared. All right. Did change the thumbnail. Let's jump into a question here. Actually, let's do this. Come on, Ecamm, work with me, buddy. Oh my goodness. Well, I guess that works. And then it disappeared. We will get there. We will get there, I promise. Anyway, we got Mr. Camera Junkie in the house. We got Nerd Nest. We got Hank Russell. We got Stop and Think. What's up from South Carolina? We got Heather Just Create. What's up, Tech Troublemaker and Shane? We've already got two people talking about the Elgato prompter. I'm sure that your clients will love it, whether they're using it or you're using it to engage with them. I'm sure they will love it. Brigadier William Wildebeest. That's a cool name. Hello. And Miguel. What's up? Can you do the Conan video mixer bit? I need more cameras and more personality to do that. And I'm switching through Ecamm today. We'll talk about the whole setup because that's always fun. So thanks for being here. Basically, I was setting things up because I want to record a video, and then it was kind of that thing where it's like, it'd also be fun to do a live stream, and I want to try stuff out because as soon as I nail things down and they're like, working great, then I go like, what if I did something entirely different and switched my whole setup around? So it's fun to experiment. Sometimes it causes problems. So what I'm using today, I'm using my FX3 with the 24mm lens right here as the main camera. And that is actually running through the Rode Streamer X. And that's going there. And I also am running my audio through here, which is the Rode Interview Pro, which I've used on a few different things. And I wanted to use it today just in case I wanted to move around. I can, it's wireless, which is kind of cool. So it's just wirelessly paired to the Streamer X, and that's awesome. And then I also have a second camera over here, which for today, normally when I record videos, I have my camera over here, which has a 50mm lens on it. Usually it's the A7S III because the A7S III has the exact same sensor as the FX3, so it is super easy to make that footage match. But today I'm using the A7 IV over here, which it does not have the same sensor, but it's still very easy to make them match, especially when you're editing and not trying to just do it live. But the reason I'm using the 4 is because I can plug it in via USB because the Streamer X only has one HDMI input, and I wanted to use two cameras, and being able to use this camera just connected through USB as a webcam is pretty awesome. So that's what I'm doing there. For some reason, the A7S III, even though you would think, be able to do that, doesn't work the same way as the A7 IV does with webcam, even with new firmware, which is a little weird. But otherwise, that's what we're doing here. So we're just gonna hang out, figured, nerd out about audio video stuff. That's kind of always fun. I need to get these thoughts out of my head. I need to talk about this stuff, and this is a great outlet to do that. I talk about it a lot with Heather, and she is a saint for putting up with that, which is very cool. Sven, what's up, Sven? Oh no, is in the workshop sanding the heck out of a new white oak countertop. That sounds awesome. Suspect Frequency, hello. AV Rangel, hello from Mexico City. Retail Crypto News, Rio Pal Room, and Luke1234, yeah. So this is like, if you've hung out in my very impromptu, randomly timed streams before, they're quite laid back. Usually it's not too crazy, and the chat's not too crazy or anything, but if you have a specific question, like, hey, let's talk about this thing, if you put a Q colon in front of it, does help me find it a little easier. And then we can kind of like, I don't want to say stay on track, because there's no track to stay on, but we can kind of sort of stay on a pretend track. So let's jump into anyone who has questions. If you ask a question without the Q colon, it's fine. You're not going to go to prison or anything, probably. Nerdnest says, what do you use for a camera and teleprompter for a desk stand? That's a great question. Right now I'm using my Lowboy stand over here, which I had a whole video about with the FX3. And when I'm doing videos a lot, I put the prompter on there. I don't have the prompter on the camera right now because I didn't really need it for this right now. But when I'm over here at my desk especially, well, actually I stream, no, sorry. The question wasn't about the prompter, that was what do you use for a desk stand? When I'm on my desk over here, there's no room, the desk is up against the wall, so there's no room to put anything there. So what I've been using is this right here, which I actually like quite a bit. I could probably tighten this down a little bit. This is the Polar Pro Apex tripod. And so the tripod itself, boy, you know, there's two parts here. This is it. This is a tripod. It's a little bit pricey. I think it's like $100. It is so incredibly strong. You know, these little like travel tripods. It's a little janky, not janky, it's the opposite of janky, but it's a little fiddly sometimes because each leg has its own like control. So you, oh God, and something just fell out of it. Maybe not the best, oh, it's just another tripod, like the set screws for a tripod head. Not integral for what we're doing right now. It was just, there's little screws that go here that you can then screw in to like lock down a tripod head. One of them came out. That's fine. It can go very, very low and very, very flat, or it can go pretty narrow. And what's really cool, maybe you could see it here. Watch this. I'll have to pop my mic out. Look at that. What's really cool is, if I can get this to focus properly, the tripod legs, they have numbers and big teeth. So even though it is a little bit fiddly to make them all, like, to adjust them all individually, like usually I think I use them on number 4, and I do that and I tighten that down, and then I go over here and I go to number 4. At least you know they're all the exact same like angle. And those teeth, the things that I want to see, actually this is too wide for a desk. Maybe 3 is better for a desk. The teeth are the thing that I'm always talking about, like on mic arms and stuff. I wish they included this instead of just friction mounts, because then this makes it super strong once you have it set. And this, I have put like a Canon C200 with a big lens on here. Like I've put heavy cinema cameras on this. That was a cool trick. I've put heavy cinema cameras on this with no problem because it's so incredibly strong and it's pretty compact. So this I just have sitting on my desk back over here. And this is more than enough to support the weight of the camera. I do have this iFootage tripod head on here, which is a nice sturdy tripod head. I like this one because it has a Manfrotto plate. And I have a Manfrotto tripod head. Over here I have a big fat beefy Manfrotto tripod head. So I can either put like my A7 IV or my A7S III on here, or if I have my FX3 already mounted there, I can literally just use the same plate and clip it in here. And then this goes on the desk, holds the prompter. It works great, no problems. So that was the long answer to say the Polar Pro Apex is what I use there. You know, I sometimes get a little long-winded, and that's a thing that can happen. Luke, are you gonna get the M4 Mac Mini? I don't think so. I don't need a new computer at the moment. I still have my Mac Mini over there, my base model M1, which I usually use for streaming and stuff. I'm using my MacBook Pro today just because if I stream from here, it's easier to run through the laptop. Both of these are great. That's the base model M1. This is the M1 Max. This was a more upgraded computer. I have no real need for a new computer. Yeah, I prefer to edit on this one. That one kind of does everything I need for it. So the cool thing with any tech really is the longer you wait, the better it gets. But with the M series stuff, the lifespan seems to be so good. which is fine with me because by the time I need a new computer, it's like they're just going to be better and better. And so I'm not in a rush to like get the new one every year. I don't really need that at all. Any advanced knowledge on the Zoom H1 XLT? Gary asks from Texas. No, I heard about it. I don't have any advanced knowledge on any of this stuff. I don't have a lot of knowledge on anything, a lot of things. But I saw that same announcement. Let me grab, yeah. So, what Gary's talking about, if you didn't see it, I did make a video recently on this, the Zoom, we can go over here, be a little closer. The Zoom H1 Essential, which is a cool, awesome little recorder that's like $100. And Zoom announced this week that they're doing something called the H1 XLR, which is this, but instead of this microphone here, it has two XLR inputs. So here's like the old school Zoom H4. It's almost like if you took these two inputs and put those on there, which, you know, Zoom has other audio recorders like that. The cool thing though is it's otherwise exactly the same as this. So it's super simple interface, super basic, and 32-bit float. So there's really no way to mess it up, like, which is kind of awesome when you're doing XLR microphones too, to have a tiny recorder that you kind of can't, you just can't mess up the levels and stuff on. I'm very interested to see how that works though with like, say one of them was using like a condenser microphone, like the Lewitt Ray or something like that, and the other was using like a dynamic SM7B or whatever. How would it, I'm very curious. But the MSRP for that is $149, I believe. And I think that's a really great price, but the confusing thing with that is that, I don't know if it's the MSRP or just the current available price, but the PodTrack P4, which is Zoom's recorder that has 4 inputs, is also usually like $149. So I'm curious, the logic between the same price thing, one has 4 inputs, one has 2 inputs. The H1 Essential obviously has 32-bit float, a little bit higher sampling rate. The P4 does not have 32-bit float, and it only does like 44.1. It's a little weird if you want to use it for video, even though it seems like it'd be a perfect video thing. I did a whole review on that one. So there are some advantages, but it also kind of seems like splitting hairs. So I'm very curious to see how they explain that. But it seems really exciting, and I'm honestly really excited for that because I like the Essential line. It's like essentially pretty awesome. Nerd Nest, when using the Interview Pro and the Streamer X, you need to put in a few more frame delay in Ecamm. I haven't. I did some test recordings and stuff like yesterday and this morning. I haven't changed anything. I have my 4-frame delay, and that's just kind of what I'm sticking with. So that's that. Let's see here. Michael Cunningham, which wireless mic would you choose between the Rode Pro and the DJI Mic 2? I'm guessing, so this is the Interview Pro. If you want something handheld, this is definitely the way to go. Otherwise, I think you're asking between the Wireless Pro and the DJI Mic 2 because those are the most compatible ones. They're both great. Like, personal biases and preferences aside, I think they're both great. So in a way, it could just be which one is cheaper and get that one. What I do like, appreciate everyone asking all these questions about stuff that I just happen to have right there. What I do like about the Wireless Pro, I forget what the price difference is between the two, but both of them have dual transmitter, single receiver, of course. But what the Wireless Pro does that I don't think the DJI mic does is it comes with this other box case thing that has just like every accessory you would need in it. So it has every kind of cable, every windscreen, every charging thing. It even has little magnetic mounts so you don't have to, you know, something that always kind of like is a pet peeve of mine. Not a pet peeve. I like it when people have good audio, but you know, this can sometimes be distracting. So you can actually put this under your shirt and just have a little magnet. Actually, I have it right here. I have a magnet on this one. So I could like basically do that, which is a lot more discreet than having the whole Rode thing clipped out. The DJI system can do that too, and I think it could do it first, to be fair. But this also comes with 2 lavalier microphones. So you not only get your transmitters and everything, but you also get 2 lav mics. And so you're kind of like, it gives you every accessory you would need when you buy it. And I really like that, and I think that makes it a bit of a better value than the DJI. So, but I think both of them are probably pretty great. Sven says, if you would run a production with a larger group, 8+ mics, multiple zooms, etc., what audio mixer would you use? So I can answer that question. We'll go over here. for some reason. Oh, hey, you asked a question about a thing that I had nearby. Perfect. Oh, wait, I moved it. Okay. I'm a visual person. I always have to do like show and tell and stuff. So this is this is a 4-channel mixer. Well, actually they call it like a 10-channel mixer, but that's kind of marketing. It's got 4 XLR inputs. For me, that's a 4-channel mixer. This is the Yamaha MG10XU. I would not use this one because it doesn't have enough inputs for what you're asking for, but I have used, in my previous teaching jobs, multiple times, I ordered the giant version of this. They have like a 16, what you can get tons and tons of XLR inputs on these. And I really like the MG line because it's relatively affordable and it works really well. But they do have some higher end lines as well. I really like the Yamaha mixers. I know Mackie makes some great ones, but this is where I would go into a more traditional mixer like this, not trying to make like a Rodecaster work or something, because it's just too many microphones and too much stuff. Going into like an old school mixer, something that has a lot of power. A thing with a lot of these is they're often designed for music. And so when you're miking up a drum set, you don't need a ton of gain, because like a snare drum is super loud, a guitar amp is super loud, a singer is super loud often. So these don't always have like the loudest, cleanest preamps, which mean if you are using a microphone, you would probably, depending on what version of a mixer you get, you would probably still need to get a booster if you're using dynamic microphones. If you're using condenser microphones, you've got phantom power on each channel, so you're good to go there, and you don't need any extra gain. But if you're using dynamic microphones, like you want 8 SM7Bs or something, 8 pod mics, whatever, you probably do need a booster, but you could get like the Clark Technic CT1, which is relatively affordable. I think Behringer just came out with like a Fethead copy, which, however you feel about that, it's pretty affordable. So you could spend, $35 to $40 per dynamic mic for a booster and then run it through a mixer like this. And then some of these, like this does have a USB output, and some of the newer ones do, so you could use this as an interface and then run it into recording software to just record there. Or you can do what I used to do in the old school days and run these outputs into something like an H4n or an H5 or some other kind of recorder, and then you can record directly that way. So you're not going to get any recording here. You're either going to need to run into a recorder or put like the USB into a computer, but otherwise, those work great. That's what I would use, and that's what I have used in the past when I've tried to set up, bigger things that aren't just like me doing something. It's always a little different there. Let's see here. Luke asks, how are you enjoying this heat wave? So funny thing, I forget where you're located. It's 106 degrees Fahrenheit right now where I'm at today, and 110 degrees is the high. This is actually cool, like cool weather. We have been up in the 120s Fahrenheit, which is like 50 degrees Celsius. So this is actually nicer, which means I'm kind of enjoying this cool front that's coming in. Is the Polar Pro on the camera or on the prompter? The camera is mounted. I mount my camera to you were asking about the tripod, and I have my prompter right here. The camera goes here, and because my cameras are just bigger and heavier, and then I put the prompter on the lens, and I can do that right here even. I don't know if I can, I guess you probably wouldn't be able to see it over there, but if I go here, well, why not use the camera we're doing right now? There. That's all it took, and now that camera has the prompter on it, but it's not connected to anything, and it's crooked, so I'm going to take it off. Slightly, you can kind of see it slightly did change the exposure. It made it a little bit darker, which in my situation is actually fine, but just something also to be aware of. All right, I'm going to jump into the general chat just to make sure, I don't know, it's not something weird to get rid of or some cool discussion that I'm missing here. Coffee Talk Tech, CTT, what's up? Mark Huff. Hey, Mark. I think I just replied to you earlier, which is cool. Am I going to make a video on the R5 Mark II? I would love to try it. I have no plans right now. The only way I think I could get one would be to borrow one from B&H, and when a new camera like that comes out, they usually need to fulfill the orders first before just like sending them out to someone for funsies, that's just me. I'm just a funsy, like I'm doing it for fun. Oh, thank you. I was very confused. Yeah, the room I'm in is tied to our whole house air conditioning, and so if it's like, yeah, it can get warm in here. Does the A7S4, the A7S4 doesn't exist yet, or it probably exists, but it hasn't been released yet. The A7S3, I don't think does. I was kind of surprised. I had it all set up. I've updated the firmware, you know, I plugged in the USB thing, and there was no option to do USB streaming, which is very weird. And the A7 IV and even the FX3, you can plug them in through USB, and right when you connect the USB, it pops up. What do you want to do? Do you want to transfer files? Do you want to stream? And you can stream. And so this is direct. This, I don't know if this is 4K. I actually don't know what the output is. It looks good though. This whole stream should be in 4K because we finally upgraded our internet to fiber like a week and a half ago. So this should be my second actual 4K stream if I did everything right, which is also a 50% chance I did not do everything right. That's a thing that happens. Let's see here. Nifty transition. Thank you. Ernesto, what's up? Remember saying in your podcast, it's revolutionary. I don't remember what is revolutionary. The H1? Talk horrors here. Hey, it's so good to see you here. It's okay if you have atrocious typing. You should see my text messages. They are ridiculous. All righty, cool. I'm going to jump back into questions. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing, just missing things, you know? Let's see here. Where did we leave off? Do you do color grading? Sepha's asking. And which software do you find easier? I do everything in Final Cut Pro. I have some presets that I've made, and which actually, I think we can do this. Boom, look at that. Oh, here's the chat. Oh no, what am I doing? There we go, this is good. Here's my website. Conveniently, someone asked something related to this every stream, which I appreciate. You can go to himynameistom.com. If you go to downloads, everything on this page is free. But I do have a couple presets and LUTs. Now that these are like, they're free for a reason, maybe. Oh wait, I'm over here on this camera. They're free for a reason. They're designed for my preferences, my cameras in my studio, but whatever. But I do have a preset for Final Cut Pro, and then I also do have a LUT that you can use with like Ecamm or whatever. It's just a LUT. You can do whatever there. And I use that a lot. I use that LUT a lot of LUTs. But that's really just like, I do everything in Final Cut Pro. I made those pretty much in Final Cut Pro, and then that was just a speed thing. Like I get the camera footage in there, I can throw a preset on there, usually fine tune it. I like things to be very bright. I like things to be very, you know, maybe a little too saturated, a little too exposed sometimes, but that's what I like. And I just use Final Cut for that because it does everything I need it to do. So that's easy. The max load capacity of the Polar Pro Apex. That's a great question. Let's see. Polar Pro Apex load capacity. It's a lot. 1.36 kilograms. Okay, 1.36 kg, 2 pounds. 3 pounds? No way. That's totally not true. It is a lot more than that, for sure. I don't know what the load capacity is on this. I mean, we could try. Let's put something heavy on here and see. What's the heaviest thing I got? Okay, well. Okay. I think this might be my heaviest camera, which is the Sony. This is an old broadcast camera. It's not a digital camera. But this is a heavy, heavy, heavy camera. Let's see. Alrighty, let's pop out this plate here. I'm actually a little curious. For this one, I think what I would do is extend the legs a little more just to give a stronger center of gravity. There's also things, not this specific stand, but there are also things called hi-hat stands, which are actually not for drums, they're for cameras. And it's the same idea. They're very low, very kind of like squat stands, and they can handle a lot of weight. I must have done something wrong there because that was not even. Okay, so we'll do that there. Let's try to put on a plate. This camera has a whole complex mounting system. I'm just putting a proto plate on it. We'll see. It was either between this or my red one, which is also heavy. But this one just seemed a little more ridiculous to me. So let's see. It might be too back heavy, though. Actually, it's fine. There you go. So I don't want to make anything fall down, but yeah. I mean, I'm not doing anything like weird here to, like, I don't want it to fall, but I'm not trying to like help the tripod. You can see it's not. This is like totally fine, which is sort of crazy. There you go. Look at this little camera setup here. Okay. Here. I'll just leave that on the floor and we'll see if the tripod collapses at some point. Or here, we could put it maybe back here. I'm gonna move these guys out of the way. There. Just in case. So we'll just put it there and we'll see if it collapses under its own weight at any point in time. Did you use a pre-built NOS or a PC turn NOS? I use a pre-built one. I have the Synology DS920 Plus. It has 4 bays, and each bay has a 16 terabyte drive in it. That's what we use, which is it is really nice to have that. And it's such good peace of mind. This is Shaw. What's up, Shaw? What is your favorite lavalier mic to use with the DJI mic? Thanks for the great content. I haven't used the DJI mics myself, so I can't say specifically for that, but my favorite lavalier mic, which should work with that just fine. It's not this one. It's this one. I just want to make sure I got the model number. My favorite one is the Sennheiser MKE Essential Omni. This is the one I use with my Sennheiser EWDP wireless system a lot. This sounds so good. Like, I have gotten this to be fairly close-ish. Well, I shouldn't say that. But I've been able to cut between this and my MKH50 boom mic and have it not be crazy distracting. This is an awesome lavalier microphone. It does have a locking connector. I don't know if the DJI mics have a locking input or not. But yeah, this is my favorite lavalier. The Sennheiser MKE Essential Omni. I love that microphone a lot. Ecamm or StreamYard? I'm an Ecammer hardcore. But if you're using an older computer that's not quite as powerful, that's where StreamYard can be really helpful, because Ecamm puts all of the, the streaming and the processing power on your computer. Or StreamYard is browser-based, so it takes a lot of that workload off of your computer and does it, like, I don't know, in the cloud or whatever. And so that means StreamYard is extremely helpful if you have an older or less powerful computer. Ecamm is the way to go if you want more power, more options, and you have a computer that can handle it, which pretty much any of the M series Macs can do. Ecamm's is also Mac only, so if you're on a Windows computer, it's not an option for you, so you maybe would want to use StreamYard. Oh, Meezy says, I have a virtual podcast that uses StreamYard. Hey, perfect. As a hosting platform, all of our equipment is the same. RE20, Rodecaster Pro 2, same XLR cable, same settings. All our audio is different. Yeah, I would be interested to know. See, this is where I do wish there was an easy way to share Rodecaster presets, because you can dial things in. Someone might think their settings are the same, and it turns out their preset is set up differently, or their gain input or something is set differently. I wish you can create custom ones really easy. I wish you could transfer them, share them super easily. So, like, I could make an SM7B preset and just give that to you, and you can use that, or you could make one and share it with everyone in your podcast. I would narrow that down. If you guys are all recording in the Rodecaster and like sharing the files, I would then literally go through every Rodecaster setting piece by piece, the gain levels, the different effects, the different processing, all of it, the output processing. People forget that you can add a compressor and stuff to the output mix of the Rodecaster. I would make sure everything really is identical. That's a place to start. If you're recording, if you're running it through a Rodecaster, I guess I would still do that anyway, but you're recording into software, I would then make sure that everyone's settings there are the same. Like if you're using StreamYard, they might have, do you want original audio? Do you want noise cancellation, echo cancellation, all that kind of stuff? I forget what options StreamYard has exactly, but you want to make sure everyone has the exact same thing set. Because if someone's using original audio and someone's using like noise cancellation audio, it's going to sound very different even if you're using the same equipment. That could be it. I don't know for sure if that's it. That could be it. Joe says, you going to make a vid about the R5? Oh, I think we already talked about that one. Luke says, because inflation is so high, have you thought about going back to teaching? No, definitely not. Look, if you want to make money, the way to do it is not being a public school teacher. I can tell you that right now. Eduardo says, are you following the Olympics? What amazing broadcasting and innovating with the 360-degree replays. What do you think about the innovation on Olympics this year about the broadcast? I actually haven't seen a lot of the Olympics this year, which is fine because I feel like I would have gotten really sucked in and then done nothing for 3 weeks. So I'm happy about that. And then I really would have had to look for a job because I would have done nothing for 3 weeks. But sports broadcast stuff is so fascinating to me. Even like I've gotten into hockey recently. That's really the only sport I've ever been super into. But any sport, I don't care what it is, like just figuring out how they film it and broadcast it and do the replays and do the graphics. It's so interesting. And the Olympics is that same thing, but you have so many more eyeballs on it. And they can't dial in like this is the perfect way of doing football or, hockey or golf or whatever. It's like they have to have all these different setups for all of these different sports, which you need to focus on different things. I was watching stuff of like, I think it was a javelin throw, and it was showing like, it was showing like how the camera operator was tracking like the javelin as it was going. And, I was seeing stuff of like the I don't know if it was track or relay or something, but like, there's a bunch of ways to finish someone going or film someone finishing across a finish line, but doing it in a way where things are framed in like a beautiful way. I was watching the thing where the person on the camera operator was like doing like gymnastics, trampoline stuff, and is like bouncing the camera up and down as the person is jumping, keeping in mind that the camera they're using weighs like 50 pounds and is on this, like, there's a lot of skill that goes into that. And that, regardless of the sport, is always so much fun to watch. Jay Parker says, what are some of your favorite lenses to use for videos and streaming? Pretty much these two are the 24 1.4 is my favorite. If you're using a crop sensor camera, it would be more equivalent to like a 16 millimeter lens. And then I typically for my B cam, and even more often lately for an A cam, I've really been liking the 50 millimeter, but that's kind of, since I redid my space a bit, it was easier to put some distance between me and this camera, because this is like twice as far away as the other one, because it's 50 versus 24. And that was just hard to do before, but now I can do it without having to be like smashed up against the back wall here. And it's kind of cool. And I really like, both of these cameras have a shallow depth of field, blurry background. This is f1.4, this is f1.8, but this, even though it's not as wide of an aperture, has a blurrier background because the longer focal length makes things a little more compressed. Like here, it does kind of look like there's less space between me and the background compared to this camera over here. It looks like there's more. And so that, there's actually less background blur because I'm using a wider focal length, even though it's a wider aperture. But I love these two. And then the other one that I often throw in, not necessarily to film me because I don't have the room for it, but to do B-roll footage, product shots, thumbnails, is the 85 millimeter. I have the Zeiss 85, but any 85, like 1.8, 1.4 lens, so good. I cannot believe how many years I went without an 85 millimeter lens. So good. And this one too, I gotta say, I want to do a video about this lens. This is just the Sony 50 millimeter 1.8. It is the least expensive lens that Sony makes. I forget what the price is. It used to be like, $100 or something, and now I think it's $200 or a little more because prices have gone up. But yeah, this lens is crazy. I bought it when I got my Sony cameras a number of years ago, and it was like, because you need a 50 mil, like having a 50 millimeter prime lens is just something that makes sense for your sensor. And I thought like, oh, I'll get this, and then then I can invest in like a 51.4 or something, a nicer lens later. This lens is just so good. I don't know. There's no need to. It's like the cheapest lens. I mean, this lens costs like 8 times as much or something, and it is, image quality wise, I think they're on par with each other. It's just awesome. I love that 50 millimeter lens. Thomas, great name. Durfee asks, I'm looking for hypercardioids to deal with a linoleum floor echo in my classroom. Any recs under 400, or should I just get a short shotgun microphone like a Deity and a lav? That's a good question. Honestly, a cool microphone is this one right here. I think the only super cardioid I have is the Shure Super 55 right here, which is quite good. I don't know your exact space that you're in, if that would be the right fit or not. A lavalier microphone can help because it really then does isolate sound around. And if you're unable, because depending on your budget and what's real, what's practical, putting lavalier microphones on everyone sometimes isn't practical. Maybe, you don't have the budget for a bunch of Super 55s, or they don't fit on your stands. Like, not everything works for everybody. Those are the two things that I would recommend. You could use like a pencil condenser microphone or something to try to like dial in on sound, but I feel like getting a mic closer to your sound source rather than a further away one that's trying to like really dial it in is probably a better way to go. And the other thing is, like, all of these post-processing tools are so good now. If you have access to the Adobe suite, and you can go to, you can use Adobe Enhanced Speech or Speech Enhance. I think it's Speech Enhance, like backwards to me. That is phenomenal at reducing like background echo and reverb and stuff. So you might be able to just use what you got and then process it a little differently. I don't want to lean on like processing or especially an AI tool to make things sound good, but if you're in a situation where like you can't physically change what your classroom is like, that might be actually a more practical and cost-effective way to go too. Yeah. I appreciate all the questions, by the way. Thank you for it's sometimes you can do Q&A streams and there are no Q's to A, and that is sad. Talk Horror, what's the biggest challenge you faced with Mac as a creator? I don't think I've had any, really, honestly. But I used Macs before I had like a YouTube channel and stuff. So I've always been into, like I had PCs like 20 years ago. I think was the last time I had a PC with like Adobe Premiere on it and stuff. But I always wanted to move into the world of Macs because for video editing and stuff, they were just much nicer, especially if you think back like 20 years ago. Getting like ingesting footage into a PC from cameras like that and stuff was not fun. The Mac just made everything a lot simpler and just kind of worked better. And so I made that leap. I think I got my first personal Mac in January of 2006. So it's been a while. And that obviously I started my YouTube channel in 2017. So I was firmly in the ecosystem at that point. But things have changed now. I don't think obviously it's easy to create on either platform now, and I feel like a lot of the things that made Apple computers great are also available on PCs, and a lot of the things that made PCs stronger are also available on Apple. The opposite also being true. The things that are annoying on PC, more of that's happening with Apple, and the things that are annoying with Apple, more of that's happening. Like everything's just kind of mushing together in the middle. So yeah. How do you get perfect white balance on stream? I'll have to ask someone who knows. But if you're asking how I got this white balance on stream, both of my cameras are set to 4200 Kelvin. So I'm not using auto white balance. I am using a custom white balance. And that's not the right thing at all. That's fairly close. These cameras do have different sensors and I do have different lenses. So if you look at like the purple of my shirt and the color of my skin as I cut back and forth, it's this is a little bit warmer, it's looking like, and this is a bit cooler. But for the stream, that's totally fine. So it's coming in at 4200, which works for the lighting that I have here. Most of my lights are set to 5600. So I'm actually not perfectly matching the white balance of the camera with the light temperature. I just kind of went with what looked the way I liked it and looked the most natural. And then I did tweak things a little bit in Ecamm. What did I change here? I didn't adjust the color temperature at all in Ecamm, but I could make this real orange, or I could make it very, very cold, but we'll put it right back at 0. So usually I try to match the cameras as best as possible, and then I try to adjust them here, which actually, if this is looking a little warmer, I could cool it down a little bit, maybe play with the gamma, and this might... Yeah, now I think these match. This looks a little greener, so I can even play with the tint. No, that's pretty good. We're getting a little... Still looks green to me. That's too red. I'm not ready for that much red. All right. That's pretty okay-ish. Maybe I made it worse. I think that's fine for now, but anyway, to answer your question, that's the scientific method that I use for that. Reviews with Rich. What's up? Picked up an SM7B and Rodecaster Duo. Is it possible to link my iPhone 14 for video? The way to do that would be to combine them using something like I'm using here, which is Ecamm, or OBS, which is free. And that way you open up the application, Ecamm or OBS or something else, vMix maybe is another option. And then you select the Rodecaster as the audio source, your iPhone as the video source, and now you've created a scene that has your video and your audio, which is exactly what I'm doing here. And then you can record or stream with those together. You might have to add in a bit of delay. In Ecamm, you can add a frame delay. So like I have a 4-frame delay here to slow down the audio so the video can catch up and everything looks pretty well in sync. In OBS, you do more of a millisecond delay, which is a little, it's a little more tedious to figure out, but you can also be incredibly precise with it. And once you get the delay sync figured out, you only have to usually do it once and then you're set. So that's the way to do it. You take your audio, you take your video, and then you smush them together in a software and you're good to go. And I hope you're liking the Duo and the SM7B as well, because that's a great combo. I'm gonna jump back into the general chat and just see what up with everybody. That's another thing that said it looks like a weapon. I believe this is our weapon back here, which is still standing, right? It's still standing, still looking good. How to repair says, watching me tonight for a change using the OBSBot Tail Air, and I can't understand why they don't have a file system that records all 3 cameras. Interesting. I haven't used the OBSBot. I'm kind of curious about it. The company has asked a couple times, but that's one that like, it's one of those things where the company's a little bit aggressive when it comes to like, my whole thing is I don't make videos in exchange for products. So it's like, if you want to send something, sure, I'll check it out. I'll give you feedback. It doesn't mean it's going to end up in a video. They are much more about like, if we send something, it has to end up in a video. And I'm not interested in that. And it's one of those things where I'm curious about it, but I haven't wanted to like buy it because I don't really need it myself. So maybe it's something I could borrow from like B&H or something one day, well, for like a month and then try it out. So I don't know their file system, but yes, combining multiple cameras does sound incredibly helpful. Coffee Talk Tech says, only takes 21 years and a master's plus 40 to make 100K. Oh boy, it is tough out there. Granddaddy-O, you tuned in exactly when you were meant to. You're never late. Let's see here. We got Mr. Camera Junkie here. Oh yeah, 50mm 1.8, one of the first videos on your channel, for sure. It's so funny. PC boys gotta stick together, boo Apple. I used to be very much like back like when I got my first Mac and like the iPhone came out and stuff, I was very much like Apple, Apple, Apple. I built multiple school programs based around Apple. It's still the platform and the operating system I prefer. But my like, I don't know, militant pro Apple support is so much less now. It's like, yeah, I just use whatever. I don't care. Like PCs are awesome. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. Swapping out components on the fly seems kind of amazing. I really like Mac OS. I like the way everything works. Once you're in that Apple ecosystem, it's like, you know, it's hard to get out. Like when everything talks to everything and it just works really well. It's a walled garden, but it's a pleasant garden to be in most of the time. So I can't really complain there. But it's like, I don't think it's as vastly superior as I did at one point. And also Apple's service, which is a thing that I really loved, has gone so far downhill. Like even the Apple store, like people are friendly still, but you kind of feel like it's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's just like locally, it's weird to go into an Apple store now. Cause it's like, you used to be able to go in, ask someone like, hey, I'm looking for this, or I need help with whatever. And they would like direct you, or you could just browse. You could just look at stuff. And now it's like literally as soon as you walk in, there's someone with like an iPad. Like, what are you here for? Do you have an appointment? Like, go stand over there. And someone will, that's like, I kind of just want to browse. And it's like, they'll let you browse, but it's like weird. I don't know. It's just weird vibes to me. And then the service, like, it's strange. Like the number of times, like I cracked there's a small crack on the screen of my Apple Watch. And I noticed it like literally just happened to be a couple of days before the 1-year warranty expired. And there's a whole thing too, where like, pretty sure I bought Apple Care for my watch because I always buy Apple Care, but there was no, it was weird. But anyway, it was still within the original thing to like pay slightly less to get it repaired or whatever. and they were like, oh no, we can't, like, we'd have to charge you the full price of a thing, um, because it's not an actual crack, it's just a scratch. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, this is a sapphire screen. It cracks before it scratches, because I don't hang out with just a lot of diamonds in my pocket. Like, gosh, you can tell, you can put your finger in it like it's a scratch, or sorry, it's a crack. Not letting them win this one. They wouldn't do anything about it, and it's like, okay, fine, whatever. If it breaks down the line, it breaks down the line. But there were so many times in the past where it's like, I remember having like an iPhone 3GS or something that had like a weird thing on the screen, and I would ask them like, oh, hey, you know, can I get this looked at or fixed? And they're like, oh, we'll replace it. I remember even being like, oh, it doesn't need to be replaced. Like, I don't need a whole new thing. I just want this little thing. Like, nah, it's easy to replace it. Here, take a brand new one. Get like, even like I had MacBooks replaced. Like, there was a point in time where it's like they would just, yeah, we'll replace it, whatever you need. Like, we don't even want to deal with the troubleshooting because we'd rather just get you out of here with a brand new thing that works well. And now it's like when something actually needs to be replaced or dealt with, it's like you have to crawl over like broken glass and have like the, you know, I don't know, some kind of court document that proves everything lines up for them to even consider the possibility of maybe thinking about offering a replacement that you probably still have to pay for at like a slightly reduced price. And that sucks. Like, I don't know, you're like the richest company in the world or one of them. Just stick with the good customer service, the thing that like drew a lot of people to you. Don't lose that, especially as other things are getting good again. Sorry, that was my rant. That was my Apple rant. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate the kind words on the studio. Appreciate greetings from Dublin. I just had a friend who visited Dublin and got back like yesterday, or I guess the day before, and they are crazy jet lagged. It seems like a beautiful place to go, especially as it's so hot here where I'm at. All right, trying to catch up with the questions. Cool. Well, we're doing great. I see Mac Borakua. Any tips on your website how to set the Rodecaster Pro 2 for streaming within StreamYard? No, I don't have anything like that. For the most part, honestly, though, it's just selecting it in anything. StreamYard, Zoom, whatever. Just select, you know, Rodecaster Pro 2 main is usually the one you want to use, and it should be good to go. Otherwise, it's dialing in like your effects and stuff to make things sound good. I do have a video. It's relatively recent. It's called Make the Pod Mic Sound Its Best, and it kind of walks through processing on the Rodecaster Duo. And even if you're not using the pod mic, you can kind of use that as an idea of how to kind of go through some of the processing of, you know, different audio of different microphones. It would be different for the pod mic. Like I talk about the pod mic, you know, leans towards the high end, doesn't have a lot of low, so you want to adjust it that way. Not something that's necessarily relevant for every microphone, but the process of dialing in the perfect sound you want to get the preset you want does apply to everything else, which is cool. NerdNest 50mm 1.8 looks great. That's this right here. Is that on full frame or APS-C? This is on full frame, and it is, I would say, about 6 feet 2 meters away from me is probably about it, because this camera is just out of arm's length, so I have it like just over a meter away, and this one's about double that distance away. And I really love the 50mm focal length for talking head stuff, because it looks really nice, and it's such a good way to like just like dial in on the subject. And I like the wider stuff for explaining, like, you know, I have products and I'm telling you about stuff. It's easier, like the wider field of view works really well for that. I like that quite a bit. So those are those two. I had a thought. I was going to say something about the 50mm. Oh, yes. Now I remember. Speaking of borrowing things from B&H, this is something I borrowed that I have not yet opened. This is the Sigma 16mm f1.4, because I did ask Sony if I could borrow a ZV-E10, not the new one, just the original one, because I've been wanting to get one for my desk setup over here, and it's also like I recommend that camera all the time, but I don't own one, so I want to get one and play with it, make some videos on it. And then I borrowed this lens from B&H because the 16mm 1.4 will look very similar to this on a crop sensor camera. This is 24mm on full frame, 16 on crop will look very similar. 50mm on crop will have the same image quality, but it'll be punched in. Actually, I think I can maybe not actually. Oh, there we go. the framing would kind of look like this. So I put my A7 IV into Super 35 crop mode here. We're just gonna hold the mic now because I don't want to deal with that. There. Oi. We cleared out some space there. So this is essentially if the A7 IV had a crop, which actually, now I'm kind of thinking, what if, sorry. So this is why I end up making changes to live streams right before they start, because this is how my brain works. So B&H loaned me this lens for about a month. I want to be very careful opening it here, because if I break it, it's going to be very evident on camera that I did something wrong. Since I have a 24 millimeter and I have a full frame, let's see what the focal length is like when they're together. I don't know, right? Would that be kind of fun? Okay, I'm going to be very delicate here because I got to send this back and I don't want a you break it, you buy it situation. Put this over here. And it was nice that I decided to take away my mic stand as soon as I decided I needed both of my hands for something. So let's see. Ooh, so pretty, like brand new out of the package lens. It's so nice. Pop it on the camera. You can't see me, but I'm over here at the A7 IV. All right. And, oh wow, that is like so different. Are you serious? Wow. Oh, because we're on full frame. I was like, wow, crop sensor, this is crazy. Okay, so right now you're looking at 24 millimeters on full frame, and this is somewhat, nope, that's not right at all. There's no way that's right. There is no way that that is correct. Wait, are you not seeing the difference? Are you seeing the difference? Oh, the camera is, right, the camera is further away. So I'm gonna move the camera closer. We can turn down the ISO. Okay, that's, let me lower this. I want to try to get them sort of even. There we go. Okay, cool. So this is still the A7 IV. Let me just turn it a little bit there. This is still the A7 IV, but this is in 35 crop mode. So this is the A7 IV as a crop sensor camera, and this is the FX3 full frame camera. And they're sort of the same distance apart. This isn't very scientific, but it's kind of a cool example though. This is 16 millimeters f1.4 on a crop sensor, what that would look like. And this is 24 millimeters 1.4 on a full frame, what that looks like. So it is pretty darn similar. It'd be more helpful if they were side by side, but just looking at like how large I am in the frame and, oops, those are wrong buttons, and how wide the field of view is and what the background blur is like and everything, it's pretty darn similar. So I'm looking forward to putting that lens to work on the E10 to make some videos about that. And now I've totally changed that whole camera setup over there. I didn't know I could punch into Super 35 while the A7 IV is in streaming mode. And you can see I switched the lens. That changed my color up quite a bit. So we can make this cooler. We can make this that. We probably don't need as much brightness. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Maybe not a perfect match to the other one, but it's good enough for now. It's good enough for now. I still want to change a little bit. Bump up the satch, the too much satch. Okay. I want the satch to look natch. Anyway, let's get through some questions here, and then I guess it's about time to wrap up. Where are we at? Here we go. Jeremy says, I noticed you use background paper for some of your product shots. How do you light the paper to get that separated look from the product? I'm assuming you have a single direct light pointed at it. You know what, Jeremy, this is actually the perfect, see, everything works out. I can go back here. If I take this off of the Super 35 mode, now we have, it's way too wide and vignetted because this is a crop lens. This is a crop lens on a full frame camera. You're not supposed to do that. So I have these background wall things here. Usually when I light these, I take this main key light and I kind of position it above. And sometimes that's enough, but other times I'll put like a Nanlite Pavo tube here shining in. And sometimes I'll put one on the floor facing up. So that way, if something is on a table like this, it's not casting a shadow. Usually that's the main light. And sometimes that's all you need, especially if you want something that looks pretty dramatic. But other times, when I want a little more light, I usually do have a few Pavo tubes kind of acting as fill lights, and that works really well. It's really helpful to have that backdrop set over there. Mike Manifestation says, have you used wireless Rode mics with the Rodecaster Duo? I have. I mean, I'm using the wireless Rode mic with the Streamer X right now. It's exactly the same process. And I actually did that in my review of this, the Interview Pro. I did that too. And it's the same process for wireless pros as well. It's pretty easy and it's pretty cool. Oliver, Let's Talk Value says, I want to start a new YouTube channel. I'm using my iPhone initially for videos, but what camera should I check out later? I swear this is like written perfectly. Like, I don't know what is in the water or the ether or whatever that's making everybody ask the perfect questions in the perfect order. We just talked about the Sony ZV-E10. That would be my #1 recommendation. The reason for that is because, I know I've said this before, so I'm sorry if some of you have heard this before, but the reason I recommend that camera is it's the least expensive camera that isn't going to give you just a ton of frustration, I think, in my opinion. There are cheaper cameras out there. The ZV-E10, the original, with a lens is about $700 or $800. But it's a 4K camera, amazing autofocus. You can get essentially, ignore the weird vignette here. You can punch in, you can essentially get like this same type of quality, especially if you pair it with like this specific lens, the Sigma f1.4. It's a Sigma 16 millimeter f1.4. You could essentially get something that looks like this with the ZV-E10. You can swap out other lenses. You could put a 50 millimeter on there if you wanted to. And it's just a rock solid, reliable camera. There are cheaper cameras, but you end up with so much frustration and so many workarounds and so much I feel like you end up spending money to just be frustrated to the point where it is just better to use your phone. And if you're gonna spend like $400 or $500 on a camera, either save it for the ZV-E10 or something higher end, or put that money towards like lighting or something. Because even if you're using your phone, but you focus on your lighting and your audio and maybe even some of your set design, background design or whatever, that might actually level things up more than just getting like whatever the cameras are when you walk into Costco and they have like the bundle pack of like inexpensive cameras there. That's just my opinion. That's what I would say there. What do you think of the Wave XLR and how does it compare to the Rode? I haven't used the Wave XLR, but it seems awesome, and I really do want to upgrade my Stream Deck. And I saw that you can do the XLR thing in the newer Stream Decks, which seems really cool. Unless you're talking about the microphone. The cool thing about that, which I also haven't used, but I have used, I think back here you can see I have like my Lewitt LCT 240 Pro. As far as I know, Lewitt makes the capsules that go in the Elgato microphone. So those are some of my favorite sounding mics in the world. And it's that same capsule that's in the Elgato mics, which is awesome. Ian says, I'm always confused about recording for slow motion. If I have a 24 frames per second timeline, do I need to have recorded in 30, 60, 120 to be able to slow them down? Or better use S and Q mode? So yes, to all your questions. S and Q mode on Sony is just their way of turning on those higher frame rates. So you can set what S and Q means, slow and quick. I typically use 120 if I have it, and then you can slow it down. It doesn't mean it has to be slowed down that much. You can speed it up, but at least you have the room to slow it down. It's going to look really smooth. Final Cut Pro did recently do a 10.8 update that now has a cool slow motion. It's a cool slow motion thing where you can take regular non-slow motion footage, slow it down a bit, and it looks a lot more natural most of the time. It doesn't always work well. But in general, you want to work with higher quality footage. If you want slow motion, getting the most frames per second possible is definitely the way to go, because you can always speed it up, but it's harder to drag it out more. And you would just take that footage, put it on your 24 frames per second timeline, and then slow it out. I like slow and quick mode in Sony because you don't have to do any weird conversion. And sometimes depending on your editing software, you take 120 FPS, you put it on a timeline. Now it looks really fast because it's too many frames. When you do it within the Sony camera, it automatically converts it to 24 frames per second. So you're just done straight out of the camera, which I really love. Paul Singh, what's up? Did you figure out connecting the Rodecaster with the camera to the A10 Mini reliably? After watching your and Curtis Jubb video, I saw it on Design, Ground Loop, Noise Isolator, and Boom. So is this the Design? Oh, this is. Oh my God. Somebody in the comments of that video, come on, focus. We'll get there. There it is. Someone in the comments of that video recommended this. Basically, this is essentially something you connect to an audio chain to eliminate interference and noise that's often caused by like electrical devices and stuff like that, which is a problem I was having trying to directly connect the camera to the Ecamm Mini. The Ecamm Mini is great for a lot of things, but its audio inputs and gain and preamps and stuff are not the best in the world. And that is a very affordable, it's like, I don't know, $12 or something, a very affordable solution that does solve that problem. So that's the way to do it. I still prefer to just run them separately though, honestly, like Ecamm to computer, camera to computer, mix them with Ecamm. I just feel like then I'm not even worried about it. Some people don't run their Ecamms into a computer though, so that makes sense. Have you connected the new Canon version of the OBSBot? No, but I did see Harris Heller's made a video about it. I haven't watched it yet, but I wanted to see that because it looked pretty awesome. What's the most excited you've ever been to make a video? Oh, that's a good question. I've been excited to make a lot of videos. There's something exciting, honestly, about every video. That's why I make them. Like, I don't make videos that I don't want to make, which is also maybe sometimes to the detriment of the channel's overall performance, but like I want to like whatever I make a video about. Most excited. I did do a video on this camera, which is still standing, by the way. That was really fun. The one that comes to mind, though, off the top of my head, is my video about the Canon XL1, because I didn't know how to wrap my head around it for like a couple of years, and then I finally like pieced it all together, and I spent like 6 weeks on just that one video, and I really loved the way that it came out, and it was really, really fun. So that's the one that comes to mind. I don't know if that's the actual answer. Do you still have the vintage red camera? I do. The red one, it's up there. I don't want to trip on things to grab it. It's great. And it's really fun it delivers amazing footage, even though it is, oh my God, 17 years old now. Amazing 4K footage out of that camera, but it is such a pain to get up. Like you have to work to get the footage out of it, but it is beautiful and it's really fun to work with, and it's something I definitely have no plans to ever get rid of. Robin Billings, PhD, Dr. Billings, because doctor sends you bills, right? Have you ever tried the Rode Wireless Pro connected to the Streamer X XLR jack with a 3.5? Connected to the Rode Wireless Pro receiver. Sorry, this is the Rode Interview Pro. The Wireless Pro receiver. I have not, but that is actually a great idea. I see what you're saying, because I was thinking, why would you want to do that when you can just connect the transmitter directly? Why would you want to do that? The reason you would want to do that would be to use 2 transmitters at the same time, and I have 2 audio inputs on the Streamer X, which by default, even though you can do 3 different types of microphones, it's only 1 input at a time. That's actually really smart. I haven't tried it, but that's a great idea. It's like really, really smart. Maybe it would work. I never unplugged my Ecamm Mini. Will it eventually melt? It shouldn't. It seems weird they don't have power switches. I wish they do, but it's based on more like professional broadcast equipment, which is in like control rooms and things, and that stuff never gets turned off for years at a time. So it should be totally fine. One thing that I do with my Ecamm though, let's see, is, that's the wrong thingy over there. Yeah. One thing I do with my Ecamm, and actually a lot of my stuff, is I get these little microphone remote control systems. So you plug the Ecamm into this, plug this into your outlet, and then you can just turn it on and off with a remote. And that, according to Blackmagic, according to now that they've been out for, 4 or 5 years, no problem with letting your Ecamm run, just be plugged in all the time. But if you're like me and it just feels weird to do that, that has been an easy way, because I never have to like unplug with anything or fiddle it. I just push a button on the remote and it turns it on and off, and it works really, really well. Steve, I remember you saying you're searching for the best sounding mics. What are the top 3 for a male voiceover? The NT1 is great. That's like one of my, I don't know what's happening with this camera angle now, but I have my NT1 over there. That's been my desk mic for a while, because I do really, really love the NT1. Obviously, I know it's kind of cheating. The Shure SM7B probably sounds best on the widest variety of microphones. Widest variety of voices. And the other one, I would kind of give it to like maybe, either the Earthworks Ethos, which is this one right here. This is a beautiful sounding mic. Or one of the Lewitts, maybe the LCT 240 or the 440. Both of them sound really, really close. The 440 is a little nicer sounding. It's a bigger capsule and a more expensive mic, but the 240 is like the best deal that there is right there. Know Your Joe, what's the device to put in line in the chain with the Ecamm? I don't have a link offhand, but if you go to like Amazon and you search for ground loop isolator, you're going to get something that looks like this, and the brand is Bezine or Design. I don't know. It's legendary company Bezine. Ground loop isolator is what you want to find. It's going to be something that looks like this. So I don't have a direct link on me right now, though. Would you explain your reason for using Ecamm over OBS? Yes. Much like Mac versus PC, I think the reason is becoming a little less... Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. They're much closer now than they were when I started using Ecamm. But I think the basic points still stand, which is that Ecamm, in my opinion, is much more reliable and much more user-friendly. OBS, you can do everything with, and it's phenomenal software. And the fact that it's free is like unreal, but it can be very fiddly. It can be very, there are times, I used to use OBS with like previous jobs a lot. And there were times where we would change nothing. We would change nothing from day to day and get different results from day to day. That is really frustrating. Ecamm is like, if you don't change anything, nothing changes. And I love that. So I like the reliability. I like the interface. It's like just as powerful as OBS, but just sort of like, I like the interface and the way it's organized and the way you do everything better in Ecamm. It's like just so much more user-friendly. Even now that OBS is also more user-friendly. The team behind Ecamm, the team behind both things are great. Ecamm is definitely like, even though it's a bigger software, it's still kind of got that like small family feel. And there is a difference when you're using free software that's open to everyone versus being a paid customer of a good company. So if you're somebody who needs good customer support, or you want them to listen to your feedback or that kind of stuff, Ecamm is 100% the way to go. Whereas OBS, like, it's free software. It's amazing that it's free, but like, you're going to be looking up YouTube tutorials and message board archived posts all day long if you have a problem. I'm getting a phone call. We'll just block that out. Ryan says, when you make a tutorial videos, do you feel you mess up a lot to get the words just right? Yeah, I mean, that's what editing's for, right? I do try really hard to, I make mistakes. I've live streamed myself recording videos a few times, so you can see like the mistakes that come out. Usually, like, the thing I'm talking about is something I have at least a decent level of experience and familiarity with, so I can speak to it even if I'm not like looking at a script or something, because it's something that I'm not someone who gets like, let me just open the thing out of the box right now and give you a review on it and I know nothing about it. I don't like to do that kind of thing. So usually I'm familiar with not only the topic that I'm talking about, but I've thought about the video, I've outlined the video, sometimes I've even rough scripted the video, I've gone over it. So by the time I'm recording it, it's many times into thinking about this topic and how I want to approach it. And that really does help a lot. And then honestly, like, I was someone who was so terrified of public speaking for most of my life. And then I was a high school teacher for 11 years. And that really helped, just practice. Like, it is a skill, and it's practice. And then something like the Elgato prompter really helps a lot, because I usually use it for bullet points. So I can just put up my bullet points. And if I lose my train of thought, I can see what the next bullet point is and remember, right, that's the thing we're talking about. And if I make mistakes, it doesn't matter, because that's what editing is for. Oh, interesting. I just got a scam. The phone call I got was a scam. They left a voicemail, because nice thing about Apple, you get text transcripts of your voicemail. It's a scam from DJI.com, which is not the actual DJI, trying to get me to renew a fake warranty. They must have been watching the stream. Let's see, mic manifestation. I have one camera right now and use OBS for camera switching. Once I get another 2 cameras, I want a different switcher. What do you recommend? The Ecamm is great if you don't mind 1080. There's not really a lot of 4K or especially affordable 4K switchers out there. I am curious. I feel like the camera switcher market has been quiet lately, and maybe something new, although that Ulanzi switcher seems pretty cool. I haven't used it myself, but it's like, it looks like an Ecamm. It has some cool things, but what's awesome is like the top kind of detaches and connects via one USB cable, so you can have the part of it that has all your camera inputs like over behind your desk, and then all you have to do the switching and all your interface is just the thing with one cable. instead of like an ATEM where you have to have all the HDMIs and all the audio and all the network stuff going right there. Ultra RMX, what do you do for living besides YouTube? Nothing now. Full-time YouTube since 2021. I was a high school digital media teacher before that. Here's our last question from Keith. Favorite guitar? Oh, see, I love all these guitars. This is the month of August, so I do want to give a shout out to my standard Telecaster that I bought with my first paycheck from my first job. I bought this in August of 2002, so 22 years this month, maybe this day. I actually don't remember the exact day I bought this, so I want to give a shout out to that one. All of my guitars have some kind of special story and things, so you're asking me to pick between my children. It's not a guitar, but it's a bass. Some call it a bass guitar, so I'm going to go there. I'm going to say my Fender American Professional 2 Precision Bass right over there takes the cake. And there we go. And Know Your Joe's here, so we'll just answer one last question. Typically, how long do you spend recording a video versus editing that same video? For a typical video, I would say raw footage is like, we'll say it's something like the Interview Pro review, like the talking head portions, probably 45 minutes to an hour of like raw talking head footage. For a case like this video, I then went out and filmed stuff in other places, so I might end up with more than an hour of just raw footage. And then the editing of that, an average video, I would say I spend maybe 8 to 10 hours editing an average video. Do the rough cut, do a finer cut. That's usually when I mark the B-roll, and then I jump in and record all the B-roll, add that in, continue editing and fine tuning, mix the audio, do all that kind of stuff. It's usually about 8 to 10 hours for an average video. And actually, shameless self-promotion, you can go to learnfinalcutpro.com if you want to go through the whole process, because that's my Final Cut Pro editing course where I teach you everything everything I know about editing in Final Cut Pro. There's other stuff too, but it's everything I know, and I walk you through literally one of my projects from start to finish. Again, perfect timing and great segues happening. So that's where we're going to wrap it up for today. Cool. Time flies. It's an hour and 15 minutes. God, let me tell you, if you want to understand the theory of relativity, spend an hour and 15 minutes sitting in like the waiting room at, a car dealership while your car is being worked on versus an hour and 15 minutes live streaming, because it is not the same hour and 15 minutes. Let me tell you. But anyway, I appreciate everyone hanging out. I know my live streams are so whenever. There's no schedule to them, and I appreciate you just popping up. You joining in when they pop up, and also dealing with all of my like technical problems because I can't leave anything alone. I have to change something every single time. Appreciate you putting up with that a lot. If you're watching the replay of this, thanks for getting this far, and I do still reply to comments and stuff during the replays. If you're watching the live, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, a great work week, and I'll put up my outro, which is about a minute, and that way if anyone in the chat wants to say goodbye to each other, you can feel free to do that. So thanks for hanging out. Oh, Keith, I think he did a super chat right at the end, but I closed my chat window. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.